Hi, Kate. It's Stephanie and Adrienne from the How to Be a Redhead podcast. Welcome.
Hey, Redheads, what's up?
We are so excited. So let's get right into it. What was it like growing up, not only as a reddish head, but also a twin? And when did you start dyeing your hair to be redder?
Well, first of all, how dare you? I'm just kidding. How do you know that I dye my hair? No, actually, I am reddish. I've always been reddish. I'm one of 7 kids, 6 girls. So 3 were brunettes, reddish brunettes, and 3 were truer redheads. And so I guess I always had a little bit of redhead envy. And my twin sister was much redder than I. Like, she was bright red. And actually, It's so funny. As she got older, her hair actually got blonde, like in her, like without dye. Because she something about the sun and her hair color just, so her hair has totally changed. And mine has too, but mine's chemical and hers not. This is the thing. When I got into comedy, there's so many funny redheads, Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett. I just felt like it was just easier to have my dream hair color. My dad was also a redhead.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, but he always says, like, by the time he had my sister and I, he turned white because we.
Our dad too. The same story.
Our dad too said kind of the same thing. Right after we were born, he went white from the stress and parenting.
Yep, that's the good news and the bad news, right? So yeah, so I think coming from good red stock, I feel like I've earned my red hair.
Yes,
and my red hair has morphed a little bit, but I love it. It's a lot of work. It must be maintained. It fades quickly, but so does everything else. So you just got to keep up,
So by a lot of work, is that going to the salon a lot, or are you maintaining it at home, or both?
Now I really maintain it myself because I travel too much. I'd be stuck in there's not enough time to be in the salon all the time. Mm-hmm. So I've become a little bit of a pro in my old age. I wish I knew what I knew now, 25 years ago. But I will say it's fun. And I think it's, I don't know. I feel like I'm so lucky to have been on a show like The Office because I literally get recognized by the back of my hair, like by the back of my head. Like, literally people are like, oh my God, they are so cute. And the thing about being a redhead on The Office was we had actual fluorescent lights, which is very rare.
Really?
Usually TV shows have tons of like real light, but our show was a documentary style comedy. Mm-hmm. So they had to have a lot of fluorescent. So I had to be redder than usual because it was kind of washing out the color. Like, it just looked kind of brown or like it was reddish. But we sort of figured out with the hair department, I figured out how to be the right red. And it was actually fun. My hair was a little different red on The Office. I always say I got a happy meal with my last dye job. But I've experimented. I sort of was doing a darker brunette when the show ended, like sort of a richer color. But what I'm doing right now is like a 6RR. So it has a little bit more of a punch and it's not quite candy, but I don't know if it's a color found exactly in nature either.
But you do it yourself at home and you mostly, do all like, mostly. That's awesome. So you do it at home and then do you do color depositing shampoos and all of that? Like, what is your...
I have in the past. I actually have some. You're reminding me I should be using it. Yeah. But yeah. And
wow.
Yeah, but I think the thing, like I said, the thing about red is that it's a little sad when the red's not what it should be. Like we don't, we want it to be what we want it to be. And so you have to step up to the plate and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself on a schedule and I'm going to keep it because it's fun. And I don't know, it's a little bit of self-care,
It is. Will you ever go white? Or will you ever not be a redhead?
I don't know. I mean, right now, no, because I'm having fun. But I can see, like, when I get older, I might be too tired to have this kind of fun. We'll see.
I know, because Stephanie and I are going red to the end. We're like, we just can't imagine. It's such our identity. Yeah. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Totally. But it is a lot of work because I do get gray and you have to really fight it. And like the older you get, like, ooh, it gets aggressive sometimes. I feel like since COVID, I'm like, whoa, take it easy, Gray. Calm down. What did I have to do? You know? Crazy. But I will say, like, being Irish and being a redhead and being in comedy and being a woman, all those things have informed my red hair. And because I do know a lot of funny women who are not in show business, who are Irish with red hair, I want to represent well. So you do,
and you are, and
you are. But, but I do understand the responsibility. You know, it's definitely a responsibility. Don't mess up the redhead.
Let's highlight too that you wear the red lipstick with the red hair and the red clothes, and I think you have red nails.
Oh wow,
I do, and I'll tell you, this was an accident.
I love it.
I grabbed the wrong lipstick this morning. It was like, well, it's red. It's happening. And you know, when you put red lipstick on, it's like it's a whole ordeal to take it off. It's not, don't just like wipe it off. I was like, okay, so it's a happy accident.
No, it looks. And I decided I'm
beautiful. Wearing like black underneath, but I was like, doing the red. Yeah.
Love it. No, love it, love it. So we want to talk about The Office. We loved you as Meredith, Kate. I mean, just an iconic role.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
What did you love about playing Meredith?
What didn't I love about playing Meredith? I had the best time. And not to sound like a lazy human being, but it was actually really fun because there were only a few days that I actually really had to like learn my lines. I didn't have that many lines, but yet I still somehow my character still got laughs. And I just love the way they used just the characters on the show in such a subtle way. So, and also just like being in the presence of so many really, truly great, funny people like Steve Carell and Ray Wilson. And I mean, we had, and all the guest stars we've had, I mean, John Krasinski and Jenna, and we really had a great show, but a great family. And just, it was just a great piece of art we got to do every day.
It was, we still love the reruns, we're just like, Stephanie and I are such fans. But speaking of what you just talked about and playing her role and not really having that many lines, but we were looking into your love for physical comedy. And I feel like that was a big part of Meredith. I mean, she was just funny with her actions that, I was just wondering if you were able,
mannerisms. Yeah.
Like that was such a big part of her role. So is that the physical comedy that you refer to?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But I feel like, my dad owned a bar, and what a shock being Irish, having your dad owning a bar. And I waited tables for a long time. So I waited on a lot of, I waited on a few Merediths. Like I knew who this woman was.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So did that help you like tap into your character?
Absolutely. It's like someone who clearly cannot play poker because we know exactly what's on her mind just by a roll of the eyes. We know exactly
like your facial expressions.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what made the show so iconic. It's like, it's exactly what you said. Like, even though you didn't have that many lines, it's like you drew laughs, or Adrienne and I personally, because of your facial expressions. Like they were like so funny.
Yes.
Well, I also got to do a lot of my own stunts, which was super fun.
Yes.
Super nuts, and kind of happened by accident, but it was a happy accident. But I will say, I think there's something to be said for going into a project, and like I think most actors count their lines when they get the script, and they're sort of like, how do I show up? And they want it all figured out before they step on set. And luckily, I learned to stop doing that because I realized I was being taken care of in a much better way. And sometimes my lines would get cut and I would still get a laugh. Like they would still cut to me. And it's like my face kind of said what the line said sometimes. So,
right.
And I also feel like sometimes when characters talk too much, we stop listening as audiences, especially if someone was really funny and then all of a sudden they're kind of doing the exposition and we kind of tune out. We don't like, they kind of lose their funny, which is a travesty to me.
And that reminds me of like Lucille Ball too. Like when I think back about her show, I think about her facial expressions more than I think about her lines.
Totally. Yeah. Right. I mean, I do think that, comedic actors are actors who say things funny. We don't say funny things. We say things funny. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's also, we also are, just in our own existence, like, in the character's existence, hopefully we are relatable and funny, to the people watching, and not because we're trying to be funny, but because there's truth in the comedy that we're playing.
Yes.
People like,
yes.
Or somebody they know.
And I do want to talk about how, the show really progressed from, there was a rich pool of supporting actors and then just so much more contribution episode after episode. So did you have any input into Meredith's growth as a character? Because it seems like she really did grow as time went on.
She did. She growed and she grossed. She grossed people out sometimes too. I'm just kidding. But but I didn't really have a lot of input. But I will say, like, I think that talking to the writers and the producers at lunch and like mentioning that my dad had a bar, I think some may have somehow turned me into an alcoholic. I'm not sure. May have been extremely unconscious. I'm not sure. But I feel like we had the best writing TV. We really did. So I feel like if Mario Andretti's driving the car, don't try to take the keys, And not that I don't have ideas, not that I don't write, but I feel like, every once in a while, I mean, you can improvise sometimes within the lines if you, after a few takes. But, and I got to do that sometimes, and that was really fun. And that was also like a little dance you do where you don't want to piss anybody off, but you want to try something. So, but I feel like I kind of had the best of both worlds. I didn't have to be like knocking on the writer's door, like, you guys, I should be doing this. There's none of that.
Is it hard? This is a question that, since Adrienne and I aren't actors, to play a role for so long, but then like on the day to day, leave and be Kate, and then you have, I guess that's obviously being an actor, but was it hard at times, or can it be challenging to kind of tap out and then be like, oh wait, I'm not Meredith in real life?
I wish I was Meredith in real life, because she's totally unapologetic. I feel like I apologize way too much. So I love when somebody comes up to me and they're like, I'm the Meredith of my office. I'm like, of course you are. You're loud and proud. I totally believe that. It's awesome. So I feel like if nothing else, I mean, the topless stuff, maybe not so much. My parents weren't too happy about that, but it wasn't HBO, so we got through it. It was okay. It's the worst.
So obviously you're known for playing Meredith on The Office, but you've done so much other work that we want to highlight. So what are you most proud of?
I have to say, being on Dancing with the Stars was the hardest.
We were going to ask you.
Insane gig of my life, because I actually first thought I was I'm too cool for this show. This is stupid. And then I got there, I'm like, oh, this is like the real. They want you to do you have to show up every day. You cannot party. You have to practice. You have to, and it got more and more intense, like literally week by week. It was just crazy. And it's crazy to be judged by people. Not my favorite thing, but it was a challenge. And I'm so happy I had my partner, Pasha Pashkov. He was amazing. And the fans are incredible. They still are incredible. I got to do a big part of the tour, which was unbelievable. It was like literally right before the world shut down in 2020. Yeah. We did 45 shows. I was supposed to do 54, but we got
oh my gosh.
And the tour was only 80. I mean, I was like the one celebrity that was doing most of the tour on the bus. We had a hotel room once a week, but it was a lot. But I got to do a little monologue, a comedy monologue at the beginning, and then I did some of my dances from the show. We did some group numbers, and it was hard, but it almost felt like a challenge from the gods. Like, you can do this, because you have to be laser focused and stay positive. And, being on a bus every day, I think we only had a hotel room once a week. It's a lot, but all the audiences I don't think we played for a house smaller than like 2,500 people. Like, and we played Radio City, which was 6,000 people, like packed house, sold out. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. It was really interesting experience.
Redheads, have you heard?
We aired on ABC's Shark Tank, episode 14, season 15. We are busy developing products and continuing to grow this incredible redhead lifestyle brand.
Check out our mascara and eyebrow products and red hot shades, hair care, merch, lifestyle items, and so much more. Redheads, we can now rejoice.
Finally, there are products for us.
Use code podcast to get 15% off your next purchase. Shop at shop.howtobearedhead.com. I was wondering too, when you first started acting and, did you know that The Office was going to be your big break when it happened? Like, were you like, this is the show, this is it?
No, it took a while because Friends had ended. Joey was the spinoff of Friends, and Joey wasn't doing well. And so we were basically filming The Office, and then it started to air while Joey was on. And I think that a cross between Joey not doing well and 40-Year-Old Virgin was coming out, and people had such a good feeling about it for Steve Carell. And they were like, oh, we have him under contract. Like, he's the guy. We got him. So I thank Steve Carell and my lucky stars every night for The Office, because I think that was sort of the combo platter that made the show go. And being at the premiere of 40-Year-Old Virgin, I was very aware that something big was happening for him, and then therefore for us. So I think that was when I was like, because I literally kept my restaurant job the first season. I didn't think we were gonna.
Did you?
I didn't know. I just didn't know, and I was like, I'm like 40. I don't want to start a new job. It's so annoying, So I covered my shifts during the week, and I worked my Sunday brunch, sometimes Friday nights, and I still did my comedy act every Saturday.
Wow. And so how many years did you do that? Did you?
The first year, like the first year and a half, like into season 2, we got picked up for season 2, but I worked up until day 1 of like I think I stopped like maybe 4. Yeah.
I was watching something the other day about people. He's a famous comedian now, and he got his break at like 42 or 43, but he waited tables most of his 20s and 30s. And he's like, I've such admiration when I sit down at a table and I'm a good tipper. Are you still like that when you sit down? You're like, that they work hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I and also my family owned a bar. Like, I understand the life, and my dad and I always connected on that, because my dad was behind the bar till he was 87, and he'd always be like, how'd you do? Who'd you wait on? How'd it go? I used to wait on a lot of famous people in Beverly Hills, which was probably the opposite of his experience, but it was so much shared, like, there's so much shared energy and all that. So yeah, I'm very aware of the people coming up, especially in LA, because I feel like everybody's generally, wants to be an artist or an actor or writer. Right. And, I remember like complimenting a star when I waited on them. And sometimes that was the biggest mistake I could have made. Sometimes they did.
Okay.
Or just like, it's just so uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, good. So I always remember that when if someone compliments me, I'm like, hey, maybe it's the 20th time for me that day, but it's the first time for them, and it's not easy.
Yeah,
and they're doing it because they mean it. Like they're opening their heart. So yeah, I just feel like I wish all actors sort of had that figured out, because sometimes it's kind of soul crushing when someone's kind of crappy to you when you compliment them.
I know. What age did you move to LA?
Well, I left Philadelphia in 1989 to study at Second City and then work there. So I was in Chicago for 5 years. And then I was in LA, I think, for a year and a half to do a show. And then that show ended up going to New York off Broadway. So I moved to New York for 3 years. So I've been in LA this time for 25 years. I'm really old, you guys. I'm wearing a lot of plastic surgery. Just kidding. But I am,
You look absolutely gorgeous.
You really do.
You have to go to Lens Crafters, you guys. I don't have a filter on, but I should. I'm like, ooh.
No, my gosh, you look so great. And yeah, so and you hosted Stand Up and Stilettos, a show.
That was a female. It was a stand-up
female comedians, right?
Yes, on the TV Guide Network. And there were so many funny women it was their first time they were on TV. And some people not so much. Like I knew like Marilyn Weiskopf and Retta from Parks and Rec was on it, and like Maria Bamford. We had really, really funny women. Carol Leifer, who's like, she used to write for Seinfeld. So many funny people. But then we also had like Michelle Buteau, and that was like Michelle's first show. I think like Jamie Lee, who is one of the writers of Ted Lasso, she's also an actress. I just did a movie for her called Plan B. So a few people were like, "Oh my god!" I mean, it was an interesting opportunity for me. Even though the show didn't go on to greatness because TV Guide Network went away, I just liked supporting female comedians. And I had a comedy act for 20 years. It was called The Lampshades. We were like a dying lounge act. And it was just, so I played tons of clubs. I bombed. I played colleges. I played tons of comedy festivals and, just crazy, crazy, crazy gigs. And I understand that world so well. It was a big, big part of my life for a long time.
Wow. And we were wondering too, because The Office ran for so many years, did your character open doors, or were there some jobs that you had to say no to that you kind of regret?
Do you mean because I played Meredith?
Well, yeah, like did it open doors? Like all of a sudden, did you feel like you were booking more things because you were Meredith and you were on this amazing show? Or did you have to say no to things?
I think it's a weird combo because when women, when we get older, there are definitely less parts. I mean, there's less parts for women than men anyway. So I feel like some people sort of make a big jump. I feel like I've gotten a lot of respect, but not necessarily a ton of work from it. But I do get offers. Don't get me wrong. Like I've done dozens of indie films, and obviously Dancing with the Stars was an offer. Like I've had some interesting opportunities. They've been, probably more manageable than a guy's. I feel like men sort of get, they sort of have, I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, for every 5 jobs women get, there's at least 40 jobs for men. It's just like how it is. That could be a wrong statistic, but it's just kind of how it goes, right? I mean, you watch movies, there's not a ton of women in them in general, even when it's a female-centric movie, it's like, that's a very rare thing, especially comedies. So,
why is that?
Well, I think for a long time, it was the boys club. And I think even at Second City, when I first started there, it was every company had 4 men and 2 women. And for a long time, it was 5 men and 1 woman. And then they switched right before I got there. I was like, so I was part of the revolution. And then now it's 3 and 3. But it's a tough, it's just, I think the world is just, it's just part of how business works, and men feel more comfortable with men, and they have, and I know it's changing. I still think it's glacial. It's still slow change, but it's happening.
Yeah.
We really hope so. We really, really hope so. So we were wondering, what do you like better, TV, voice acting, or comedy shows? Because you do so much.
I hate it all. No, I love it all. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick. I always sort of love whatever I'm doing in the moment. Like I also tour with Jane Lynch. We have a Christmas album that we did, so we get to do this live concert with a jazz band, and we the band, the band's great, and there's some comedy, but there's just some nice music too, and it's not like a hostage situation. It's just like a fun little ride that we go on. So yeah, I'm like when I'm doing that show, Swing a Little Christmas, I'm always like, oh my God, I want to do it forever. But yeah, so I'm really lucky. I'm like one of the luckiest people I know, because I do get to do a lot of really weird, wonderful things.
We love all your work. Yeah, Steph, you're talking about the voice.
Voice acting. So obviously that's when you're the voice of a certain character as opposed to seeing you. What's that like? Because it's so different than playing a character like Meredith in The Office.
Right. Well, probably my first big voice gig, I played Lucy in Charlie Brown Christmas. Robert Smigel used to have an animated thing on SNL back in like the early 2000s called Saturday TV Funhouse. And so he had remembered I had auditioned for the Dana Carvey show. I tested for the Dana Carvey show, didn't get it, but I used to do Lucy from Charlie Brown. And so, like from the TV special, but I acted like I was animated. Like, I know it had been insulted. I know it had been insulted. And he remembered that. So he actually hired me to be in this cartoon with Amy Poehler. And oh my God, we had such a great time. So I feel like that was my first, like, oh my God, I love cartoons. And, they're directing you in your ear. You're like literally in the studio with the big giant microphone and the headphones. And sometimes you get to see a little image of what you're doing on a screen. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just like a little hand drawing. It's pretty cool. And then a few years later, I auditioned for a pilot for a show called OKKO on Cartoon Network. And I ended up playing KO's mom, Carol. And that was for three seasons. And then while I was on that show, I got asked to do Steven Universe. I did 5 episodes. I played Barb, Sadie's mom, and that was really fun. I feel like there's so many Steven Universe fans. It's crazy. That's a wonderful, wonderful world. What a great show. So yeah, I've done a few things. Right now I'm on a show called KIF, which is on Disney Channel. I'm just recurring. There's a main witch, but I'm the main witch's sister, Agnes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I play the um she's a witch that runs a laundromat, so it's called the Wish Wash. And that's it. Wish Wash. So if you get 2 washes, you get a wish.
That's funny.
So I get to do some fun stuff sometimes. It's and a bunch of other stuff that's coming out. And, yeah, but it's always an interesting world. And I also love like when you're doing a character that's like, kind of having an adventure, and they're like fighting or falling, and there's something physical happening, and you have to vocalize it. There's a lot of it's fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh my gosh, that's a riot. So what do you have next? What do you have planned?
Well, there's some stuff I can't talk about. Okay. I just had a movie that just came out with Rita Moreno called The Prank. It's a horror comedy.
Ooh.
And then I have a movie called Plan B that's coming out shortly. That's with Jamie Lee and John Heder, who played Napoleon Dynamite. And I have another movie called Bolt from the Blue, which we shot in Alaska.
Plan B is a movie that is coming out?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. When is it coming out?
I don't know yet. Well,
okay. Okay.
These are all keep an eye outs. Yeah.
Okay.
But The Prank I think The Prank's going to be on platform soon. It was just in theaters. Like we just premiered like 3 weeks ago. So I think it's still in some theaters, but it's gonna, I'm sure it'll go to platform soon. But Rita Moreno's hilarious. She's 92. She plays this evil physics teacher, and I play the lunch lady. It's like a horror comedy, but it's also like it's a dark.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's great. It's like a high school story too, and yeah, Ramona Young and Connor. These guys are such good actors. The kids they're amazing.
Yeah, and then do you still live in Hollywood?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you ever see? Not anything. I mean, having to do with acting, but when you're out, do you notice a redhead? Like, do you say something, or is it kind of like, do you feel like you look at each other? Like we always say, it's like being in a secret club.
Sometimes. Sort of. I was gonna say, I feel like when I'm at an event, for sure. Like, and there are other like female comedian redheads that I know. We give a little like, hey, you're a little different the last time I saw you. Like I know Lisa Ann Walter, who's on Abbott Elementary, and sometimes Kate Walsh is a redhead. Sometimes Kate's a redhead, she's not. But when she's red, we're always like, I remember doing like pictures with her at events, and yeah.
Wow, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I remember Ellie Kemper was a redhead.
She was, yeah.
Yes. She still is sort of a brunette redhead, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. She actually played Wendy on a Wendy's Hamburger Wendy on a Halloween episode, and I actually was the voice of Wendy's for a year for the commercials, and the writers didn't know that, so we were actually had to record. I was dressed as Meredith for a Christmas episode, doing the voice of Wendy's Hamburgers. I had played Wendy on the Tonight Show once in a sketch, like because I think it was their 40th anniversary, and I had like a cigarette coming out of my mouth. Like, how does it feel to be 40? I'm like, great. I'm 40 years old. I'm still working at Wendy's, But I loved playing Wendy. I thought it was like such a great, iconic, redheady thing to do,
Yeah, it is. I was just gonna say like a redhead thing to do.
Totally. Yep. The other redhead thing, was I was wearing black and white stripes, and I put on a hat the other day, and I kind of looked like the Hamburglar, but that's okay. You gotta be careful. I gotta do like a post on that on Instagram.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I really needed your laughs today. I mean, you're so hilarious, Kate. And honestly, Adrienne and I, before having you on, we were getting a little nervous. We were like, we're so starstruck looking, like having you on. So it's such a privilege and an honor to talk to you. And
thank you.
I was telling Adrienne too that yes, and I told my husband actually this prior. I was like, I want to rewatch The Office. It's just something where Adrienne and I, we do that with Friends, we do that with Seinfeld, and I think The Office is next because there's so many episodes that we've just forgotten over the years, and someone will say, oh, do you remember this scene from The Office? And I'm like, I don't, but I have to rewatch it. So it will be fun to rewatch it and then to see Meredith all over again. Yeah.
thank you so much. So great. You know, I have to tell you guys, I connected with you guys a little bit on Twitter when you first came out because you sent me redhead bobby pins, which I still use. And I remember, like, oh my gosh, because I'd been a few different redhead, you know, two different reds, and I'm like, hey, those reds don't work, those bobby pins don't work anymore, but these do. So you've really like figured out the changes or the subtleties. So I appreciate that. You guys are really on it. So I think it's an interesting culture that you've, you know, and also you're not discriminating because I wasn't born as red as some. So thank you for that.
Yep, of course. We'll have to send you a package.
And the other thing I want to say is that I really appreciate, but it's funny, you know, I'm one of 7 kids. My brother was brunette, but when he got a mustache, it was red.
Really? That's so common.
Now it's white, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've heard that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I let my mustache grow, it would be red too, but I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Waxing all the way, baby. Thank you guys so much. Good luck with everything you're doing. So nice to meet you guys.
Thank
Stay
you
red.
so much.
Woohoo! Stay red. Woohoo! Redhead power.